Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Odd One Out with your host Mark. Today I'd like to talk about the 1983 film Scarface. Scarface, it came out in the early 80s, 83, directed by Brian De Palma, and one of his better efforts. He's made some good films over the years, and I'll probably come on to that, but this is one of his more memorable ones. It involves the rise to power among the drug dealers of Miami, of Tony Montana, a Cuban who's been basically managed to escape Cuba, kind of been kicked out by Castro, actually, along with a bunch of other criminals, who basically climbs his way to the top, or what he perceives to be the top of drug dealing in Miami. Along the way, he's cutting deals with major producers of cocaine. He's stepping on people that he doesn't trust, and basically doing everything he can to get to the top. Now, this is an interesting film. I really enjoyed this film, but it's a bit odd. I haven't seen it since it came out in the cinema, which was 83, so it's 30 years since I last saw this film. And it's amazing how much of it I remembered quite distinctly, which is quite surprising. This is nearly 3 hours, and there's just so much in it that's memorable. And the reason it's memorable is that Al Pacino, as the main character, Tony Montana, is very, very memorable. He's not just chewing the scenery here. He is cutting the scenery out, put it into a sausage grinder, making sausages and eating them. He's just really going for it. Every scene is kind of tense and over the top with him, but he manages to sustain it for the whole period. And I think he does that by not just being violent and aggressive. He tones down that aggression quite a lot sometimes into sort of a passive aggressive whining, moaning about his lot. He's constantly talking about money and work and how much hard he works and how much he deserves it and all this sort of stuff. To the point where it drives his wife, stroke girlfriend, well, it's his wife at this point, who's played by Michelle Pfeiffer, to distraction and starts shouting at him. He's also, we kind of see he's gone from intense and driven to more and more paranoid as he's snorting cocaine, his own supply as well. And there's a phrase in the film, "Don't get high on your own supply," which he kind of breaks. And it's really interesting to watch. There's some interesting people in this in terms of characters. Having only watched it once before this most recent watch, I didn't realise the sister was played by Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. Let me try that again. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. Can't really say it, because when I see her in other stuff, I kind of think of her tending to be mousy and a bit more demure, whereas in this she's well over the top. She's as over the top as Pacino, but I just hadn't put it. The only things I remember her from are The Abyss as the kind of mousy ex-wife, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, where she plays a slightly too old for the character Maid Marian. But they're all old in that, so it's kind of not so bad. They're all relatively old. I really enjoyed this film. It was odd watching it because it feels like it's not the original film. It feels like it's a parody of itself almost. What with the over the top clothes and scenes, and the music in it comes across as terribly cheesy now. But the odd thing I find about it is it was made in 83, but it kind of sums up the 80s in terms of excess and flash and how you should really go for it and step on people. It's kind of fascinating to see a film from the early 80s coming to typify the entire 80s, much more so than, say, Wall Street, I think. And I really enjoyed it. Directed by Brian De Palma, and apparently he made some other pretty decent films during that decade too. He made The Untouchables, which is kind of fun too. Written by Oliver Stone, who I understand had a massive coke habit at the time. of writing as well, so he kind of understood what he was writing about when he was doing coked up nutcases. There's some standout scenes to this, mostly involving death, and the obvious ones are the early one involving a chainsaw, the guy being thrown out of a helicopter, and the final scene. And I think one of the reasons it still remains memorable to me is it kind of permeates gangster rapper culture, doesn't it? This kind of Tony Montana's, I think, seemed to be some sort of something to aspire to, a role model, which is kind of despicable, really, when you consider the man it is. It's interesting that De Palma managed to sustain how interesting this character, who's got really, really no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He's horrible, he's obnoxious, he's a peasant, kind of. He gets referred to a few times as a peasant, which drives him nuts. But he's also kind of watchable. You can't help but watch him, and the time shoots by. It really does. It doesn't feel like 2 hours 40 minutes or whatever. It's 165 minutes. It doesn't feel like it's that long. Actually, it kind of shoots by. I did notice while watching it, a lot of the scenes are overextended. They could be clipped and nicer, but I think De Palma, it doesn't feel like it's improvised, or maybe the odd scene here or there. There's one bit where he's in a restaurant and he starts shouting at the people. That kind of feels semi-improvised, but it really does feel like Pacino knows exactly what he's doing and is doing it intentionally, and it just works. If you haven't seen this film, I'd recommend it. There's a few other decent actors in this. There's a sidekick of his called Manny, who's played by Stephen Bauer, who was not bad. And he really didn't go on to anything else, which is the same. Checking his IMDb, he's had a long acting career, but nothing particularly significant. Robert Loggia's in it as like the playing kind of it doesn't quite work because he's playing like a Latino type, and it doesn't suit him really. He's not that kind of guy, but it's passable. It's okay, and I like Robert Loggia anyway. It was also a kind of remake of, or homage to, an earlier film which was made in 1932 called Scarface. But really it was quite a different kind of thing entirely. The only things in common were it was about a guy sort of climbing the greasy pole to be the top of the tree, and his name was Tony. But apart from that, there's really not that much. And they kind of come to the same end. There's not that much in it in terms of similarities that they diverge wildly. I was quite surprised. I remember when I went to see this, I had watched the original like a year before, and I was expecting something a bit closer, so it was kind of quite a shock at how different it was. Anyway, this is an enjoyable film. I'd recommend it. It's extremely graphically violent, lots of swear words, stuff like that, but it's good fun. Alright then, that's it. Bye.
Okay, so what do you call yourself? Huh? ¿Cómo se llama?
Antonio Montana. And you? What you call yourself?
Where'd you learn to speak the English, Tony?
In a school. And my father, he was from the United States. Yeah, just like you know. He was a Yankee. He used to take me a lot to the movies, you know. I learned. I watched the guys like Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney. They teach me to talk. I like those guys. I always know one day I'm coming here, United States.
1980, Miami. They called it Little Havana, where the American dream had a price tag, and only one man in a million was hungry enough to pay.
This country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
Scarface. For one brief moment, the world was his.
A chick is with. She like me.
You must be kidding.
What you talking about? That's a Cadillac.
How do you know?
The eyes, Chico. They never lie.
Man, that's the boss's lady, okay?
I am the boss. That guy's soft. I like you, Tony. There is no lying in you. Here's to the land of opportunity.
We do business together a long time.
I know the street, and I'm making all the right connections.
Remember I told you when you started, the guys who last in this business are the guys who fly straight.
With the right woman, there's no stopping me. I could go right to the top.
The word on the street, Tony, is you're not a small-time punk anymore. Supreme Court says that your privacy can be invaded.
You sweep the house this month?
You're spending a lot of money on this counter surveillance.
We're doing 10 million, 15 million a month. Come on. Now that's serious money, you know? Your bank boys gotta come down a bit.
Who else can you trust? That's why you pay us what you do. You trust us. You're in good hands with us.
Al Pacino is Scarface. He loved the American dream with a vengeance. Al Pacino, Scarface.